Hello and welcome to the couple that rips together. In today's episode, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to actually do a interview style. So I just got my Pokemon professorship, and I wanted to have Ryan on, who is a friend and Pokemon professor who judges our local events and has gone to many regional events as a judge while his son competes. So I'd like to introduce Ryan. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you into Pokemon and kind of your journey?
Yeah. So thanks for having me. So started our journey with Pokemon a little over 5 years ago. My son was 5 years old. We were walking down an aisle at Target and saw the Battle Academy box set. And he said, "Dad, can we buy this?" He never asked to get anything, and it was like 20 bucks. And I said, "Sure." Got home. I thought it would be a board game. We opened it up, and I thought, what did I do to myself? So we spent time getting the rules read, figure out how to play this game where you're reading cards, doing math, holding a hand, and shuffling a deck with a 5-year-old kiddo. And he fell in love. So, with that being said, we played probably 3 to 4 days a week with that little box set because he'd ask Dad, 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 can we play? Of course, what do you say to your 5-year-old son when he's excited to do something with you? You do it. And then my wife one day said she had heard that a local shop played that game with people would go and play. And I thought, wow, I had never heard of it before. Never mind that people play it in the community, right? So I showed up at a local shop one day and we came in with our little box. None of the cards were sleeved. We had these punched out little damage markers and we did not fit in, right? Like we got there and we looked like the people that had no idea what was going on. And actually, so Zach, you were there
Yep.
and you got a chance to help us out a little bit. And then a couple other people were pretty welcoming and we just got playing. And then eventually learned about another shop in town that also did the same kind of thing. And we would go there as well. And, you know, that's kind of how the whole thing began. And then he got pretty good at the game. And one day somebody said, "Ryan, you should take him to a regional. He's pretty good." And he was 6 years old. And I said, "Nah, should we take our 6-year-old to a big tournament somewhere? Like, feels a little excessive, right?" So we decided to try it. And we got to, it was at Milwaukee, so it was drivable, right?
Yep.
And we went there, and never have I ever walked out of a place more hooked in my life. And that's how it began.
Yep. And I remember you guys going to that first one and Ollie coming back all excited and wanting to, keep going more competitive and more competitive. And the kid is a crazy one in a good way there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So it's been great for me. It's a great opportunity. 5 years of playing the game. Probably the best thing that's happened to him for the family, really. It's become a family event for the house. Um, and cool learning opportunities for him to meet people from all over the world at some of these events, which has been really cool.
yep. And I probably played for maybe 1, 2 weeks before you guys started. So, I was learning the game too. And
Yep.
I think both kids played, my son and your son played together, as they're both just learning that thing. So it was
Yep.
fun
Yep.
having someone else within that same age range. So,
Correct. And another dad that you can be like, "What's going on?" Whoa,
yep.
let's figure it out together.
I mean, I played as a kid. I played base sets, so I knew the basics, but a lot of things had changed. Like, there was no
Yeah.
difference between trainers and supporters. You could spam 5 or 4 Professor Oaks in a turn if you got the cards.
Right.
And not that I probably played anywhere near correctly when Basic came out because I was probably Ollie's age and had no parents involved.
Right.
So I was
Right.
probably about 6 or 7 when Pokemon first started coming out.
Yeah. It's wild to think how much it's evolved over time, and it continues to grow, which is awesome.
Yeah. So I guess we'll kind of start by Sarah asking a couple questions here. She's just learning how to play Pokemon. She's been coming to the locals now for about 2 months and learning one deck. She's now finally getting into a second deck.
Hmm.
Um, and so she's just nothing competitive yet, just a play against me and a couple other, you know, people. So
Right.
go ahead.
Yeah, so like Zach said, I've played for a couple months now.
Hmm.
When I first started, I didn't know much about Pokemon at all. And now I like very much enjoy it. Like my Wednesday nights have to be Pokemon. I very much enjoy going to Pokemon on Wednesday nights.
I love it.
So my first question is, what advice do you have for a new player as they start to get into the local or regional events?
Yeah. So I think the first piece of advice I give as you get ready to compete beyond open play, right, is to keep it based around what's the most important thing, and that is to keep it fun, right? I
Right.
think the biggest mistake I run into when it comes to newer players is they take it too serious. They allow themselves to get confused because they take it too serious. And then they pick up a deck that they feel like they should play, but they don't really play it enough. They don't like it. They don't know it well enough. And it creates them to have a poor result at the end of the day anyway and gets them discouraged, right? So, step one, keep it fun, no matter what. You got to find a Pokemon, a theme, a style of deck that you enjoy to play and play that, period, right? Now, are there decks that are probably going to be the best decks out there? Sure. But it's not one deck that wins every single tournament, right? And so you need to find a deck and a style that you enjoy, have fun playing the game, and that'll help you stay relaxed and actually enjoy the events so you can do well.
And I agree 100%. It's finding something that's going to, especially if it's kids, keep
Hmm.
them entertained long enough for them to really learn the core concepts of the game.
Yeah.
And I have seen so many, tournaments, and not just Pokemon, where someone goes and sees a deck online, and then 2 days before the event they build it, and it's like, oh, this one won a regional. It's got to be the best deck, and they don't win anything because they don't even understand the basics of how the deck functions.
Yeah. And once again, it just might not fit that person, right? So the biggest thing is just keep it fun. After that happens, then we start doing more conversations around some of the skills and strategies in the game to better understand how to play with some of the more advanced opponents, right? But I like to do that after you've had your first taste with some events, just so you kind of know what you're experiencing. Because the whole idea of the game isn't just to win all the time, but keep it fun, keep it exciting, and learn and grow, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of people who start playing on live, and then they
Yeah,
come to this first event, and live does everything for you. You just
yeah,
select the cards, choose the attack, and it
yeah.
does it all for you.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's true, right? And so then you run into double prize card penalties, you run into some other issues with misplays. So that's where we start to have more advice around just take it slow, right? Not so slow that you're slow playing the game, right? But to think through each of those actions and not take shortcuts in your first couple events, just to make sure that you're doing everything correctly, right? I got asked the other day by somebody, Ryan, what happens if somebody does special red card to me? I shuffle my hand, I put it in the bottom of the deck, and I present my entire deck to my opponent to cut it. I was like, that'd be really bad, right? Because Now we've taken a sorted deck and we've unsorted it, so I don't know where that starts, right? Um, and so there's technically some ways we can maybe fix that to some degree, but it could potentially lead to a double game loss situation, right? So when you're somebody that's a big time live player and then you go to playing in a physical event, I think one big advice I would give: slow down enough to know that you're doing all the actions correctly,
Yeah,
and call your
agreed.
friendly judge. They'll help you.
And there's maybe do a couple events that aren't competitive first and kind of walk through those actions. Find a person at the locals who will teach you, who
Yeah,
will
and
walk through things with you.
right, or go. I mean, go to an event, right? I think the biggest thing is go and play, right? Um, don't go to play and assume you're going to win every event, right? That's just not the way it works, right? There's only one winner out of 20 players, 30 players, 70 players, 3,000 players, right? But go with the idea that I want to do better than I did last time. I want to learn and grow. And most importantly, I want to have a good time, right?
Um,
If there's a penalty that happens because we made a misplay, we learn from that, right? No big deal, okay? Um, and so I would say don't avoid an event because you don't feel comfortable yet. The best way to learn is to go and do it and make mistakes.
Agreed.
Okay.
And then you get one more.
Yeah, and then my second question is, what are some other roles at the events for someone that wants to be involved but is not confident in their judging skills yet?
Sure. So there are a lot of events that happen at a major event, like a regional, right? So you have to imagine when you have a production that's that large, we have people behind the scenes doing a lot of things to keep that tournament running. Okay. We have a team that works in what's called the Hive. They do a phenomenal job of getting all the paper ready, which is all the paper match slips, taking those match slips when they come in and getting them recorded into the tournament operating system, right? They get any kind of situations kind of figured out when somebody's missing, somebody needs to get a deck found, whatever it may be, that they are there as a resource, right? We also have people that do just deck checks, right? They're going out and we have to do so many deck checks throughout the event, right? And so they randomly pick out a deck or a match and they go out and they collect those decks, bring them back and do a deck check, right? So there are a lot of roles that happen kind of behind the scenes. Then we also have the organization that runs the events. They also have staff there as well who does some of the like administrating events or administrative type roles when you first get in, right? They help you check in, all those things, right? They have staff around the place to help out with other things. That's a little bit different to get into, but there are roles that are not judging, people focus faced, right? To kind of do those things. Now, if you enjoy working by the tables and working with the players directly, another great way to start at a major event is to work what's called a side events. Side events are a blast. Everybody, when they think about a regional, they think about the main event and they think about that major tournament that's going on, right? But not everybody's playing in that major event the entire weekend. And we need to keep that weekend fun for everybody. So we like to bring in staff to work the side event team who enjoy giving a great player experience, are flexible. They may not know all the rules, but we're not giving a lot of penalties or anything there. We're just keeping games going, engaging, and having fun. And so that's another place where I recommend anybody that's new to a regional scene just to get an opportunity to see what does it feel like, what's the energy level like, and to go have a great time, making it a good experience for all the players there. Because at the end of the day, it's all about a great community.
Okay.
Yep. Because yeah, one thing I'd like is, as I get to the point where I come and start going to some of the regionals and helping out, maybe Sarah coming with, and she's not at that level where she's going to be judging an event or anything like that, but we can go together and still, you know, have that experience, do the travel, and just the experience of being at a regional. So,
Right. And I think sometimes too, what people forget is, you know, my wife goes to a lot of the events when my son competes and I work it, right? And so she's typically there as a spectator, which means that she's going to be there by Ollie when he's competing because we need an adult by him. Um, but if she wanted to and had the time to, she could go still compete in side events, right? Get
yep.
that experience from the other side of it if you're not working, right? And still experience the regional together in just a slightly different way. Um, so I think it's great to travel together and see these different places we go and experience the community because it's a phenomenal group.
Yeah. All right. So I guess I'll get on to the questions kind of that I had.
Hmm.
So what are some of the skills that make for a strong judge beyond, just knowing the rules of Pokemon?
Yeah, I think the most important skill is going to be the ability to listen. Sounds crazy, but when you first walk to a table where there's a judge call going on, you have to understand what's going on in that situation, right? And you're going to get told something really fast by somebody that's extremely excited to spill out all the things that occurred, right? And at the same time, you might have somebody on the other side of the table trying to interrupt and say something else, right? So being able to pause them both and listen to both points of view, recap what it is you heard, right? So critical because that's how you can break down what actually happened. And then from there, we need to have the ability to have good problem solving skills. How do I look at what's on board? What things here can I use to identify what actually happened? Can I identify a series of events by looking at the discard pile, right? Can I try to figure out all of those things and make a sound judgment on what actually happened in that gameplay moment, right?
Yep.
The other thing, customer service skills, right? Once again, at the end of the day, we have got to communicate in a positive way with these players because they've traveled from all over to come play in this event, right? We want to make sure they're still having a great experience. Now, somebody might earn a penalty, right? That might happen. But you can earn a penalty and still have it feel like it wasn't a terrible experience, right? You might be disappointed you got a penalty, but if you still present it in a way where it makes sense and you take time to communicate it in a positive way, those experiences can still end in a positive way for both players and get them to keep moving on.
Yep.
The,
And use it kind of as a learning experience for them too.
yeah, I mean, potentially. And the last thing is just time management, right? So in those calls, understanding how do I do this efficiently? Because at the end of the day, we have potentially 9 rounds we're trying to fit in a period of time, right? We can't have one match keep an entire round from starting over again, right? So we do need to keep that moving, um, and then understanding when to follow the kind of hierarchy for a call, right? But biggest thing, listening skills, customer service skills, problem solving skills. Those three, followed by some time management, would be some of the most important things I think when it comes to just starting out and knowing what to kind of focus on.
Yep. Okay. And then how do you handle a situation where two players are frustrated, they disagree on what's happened, and
Sure.
you kind of have to not always not only figure out what happened, but kind of de-escalate the situation.
Yeah, the first thing I do in that kind of situation is just say, all right, I need you to both pause, right? Because if we're yelling over each other, we're not going to get anything accomplished, right? So, like,
Yep.
both pause. I will take time to listen to both your points of view because I need to understand both your points of view to know what happened, right? And so, once again, I'm just going to slow them down so I can do that listening, right? Listen to one, listen to the other. They might try to talk over each other, just stop them so you can listen. Say, right now I'm simply listening. Then, walking through why you're problem solving the way you are. All right, it sounds like this is what may have occurred. I'm going to look through this discard pile to identify what I can see that factually has occurred so far. Is that okay? Right? Yep. We go through it. And I just verify the things verbally as I see them. This way, they're both on the same page the entire time as I go through what is happening, right?
Hmm.
After I've gathered enough information, right? I just pause and I say, okay, I believe I understand kind of what's going on. I'm going to take one moment. I'm going to go share my view of what I heard with a head judge. I'm going to come back and let you guys know what we've talked about. Okay? Walk away. Now they have time to breathe. Right? They can process what's going on. At this point, we've hopefully taken them down. Right? Go talk about whatever that decision was, and I come back. Right? I share with them what the ruling is and why. Once again, you have to explain the why. 9 out of 10 times, they're going to get it and they're going to say, okay, I understand. But most importantly, we're going to offer the ability for them to appeal, because we want their voice to be heard if they believe I'm still wrong. Right? And some will take that opportunity, and you go bring in another judge that can come over and listen to the appeal. So we're still letting them get their voice heard, but we also have to do it in a timely manner to keep things moving along.
All right. And then how should a new judge balance enforcing those rules, but also keep the event welcoming, educational, and fun?
Sure.
And this
So,
is probably more like the local scene than the
yeah,
big regional.
right. So let's say we're at a local event and it's a fun tournament where championship points are not on the line, right? Usually in that kind of situation, there's a lot more flexibility of how do I fix this in the best possible way without maybe having a penalty and keeping it enjoyable and educational, right? Typically, both players are on board then, right? And we just take time to explain. This is why there was a misplay. This is what happened. Here's how you can avoid that from happening again in the future, right? There's strategies that we've all learned throughout the years, how to not accidentally draw too many cards off the top of your deck, for example. Okay? Now, let's say it's a cup, right? And I've had this happen in the past. You have a newer player who is learning how to play competitively and they go to a cup. Unfortunately, at this point, I have got to hold the rules and I got to hold them accountable because we're playing for championship points now, right? And that's their ability for players to get an invite to the World Championships. I can't just decide what rules I want to enforce on that day. However, I can still make sure I educate, right? Take time to make it informed, explain why something is the way it is. And I can always offer myself available at the end of the event to teach further why a ruling might be what it is. Somebody might not understand the concept of a 2 prize card penalty, right? Or maybe why they get a game loss, right? And that's hard to stomach sometimes, and no judge likes to give one, right? But we can at least explain why something's not repairable and why that might happen.
Yep. All right. And then how did you go from judging at these local events to becoming a regional judge and doing some of these bigger events?
Yeah. So it started with I would go play in the events. I'd go to a major regional and I would play, and Ollie would play, right? And we would really only do the ones we could drive to because that's what we could afford to do, right? Then what happened was our local shop needed somebody to take over running the league. So I decided I would go and get my professorship and become a judge. And I took over doing those duties. At one point, I was talking to some other local judges just about suggestions, ideas, things that I could bring to the table here in Mankato versus what they were doing in the cities, right? And one of the judges recommended that I look at a Discord channel that I hadn't been involved in yet. So then in that channel, I started researching and learning from all these other judges, all these great professors from all over the community, and was able to learn from them. At which point then I saw the applications for regionals and said, I'm going to do some reading on this. Did some research, started asking some questions to some of the senior judges in the community. They gave me some feedback on things that I could focus on if I wanted to apply to work at one of the major events. Took some of that feedback, put it in play, and when an opportunity arose, applied and was lucky enough to get offered a spot to go judge. First event, I did 2 side events, which I thought was amazing. And I've done several with side events, and great experience, a great way to have fun. You're there to make sure that it's a great event for people, and you get to really practice some of those judging skills in a pretty low stress environment. And then that's how I've worked my way into whether it be the master circuit, senior circuit, and then eventually had a chance to work in the stream team.
Yep. Yeah, I remember you coming back with some different formats for us to try out from some of those regionals. Don't know if you can talk about any of those or.
Yeah, there's lots of alternative play options in Pokemon, and many people only think about standard format, right? But there's a lot of really cool ways to play the game, whether it be Ditto Draft pack battles or we have raid battles, right? Gym Leader Challenge is a format that I love that has become formally recognized by Pokemon as well. And so there's lots of ways to play the game. Retro formats are becoming more popular, right? And so I think it's a great way to kind of keep your community engaged instead of always just doing the same decks over and over again.
Yeah, I know there's a bunch of us at the locals that love doing the GLC. We've tried doing little tournaments, but about the same 4 of us show up with the same couple decks, and
Yeah.
it's hard sometimes, but we're trying to get it to grow.
Got to keep growing the group.
And then I remember you bringing back the raid format one time, and people really like that. So
Yeah, raiding is a blast, and as a person that runs the raid, it's kind of like your one opportunity to entertain as a judge,
yep.
right? Which is kind of fun. Normally, you're not entertaining; you're enforcing, right? But that's a time you can actually really just kind of enjoy and have a fun time.
Okay. And what advice would you give to a newly certified judge who wants to improve quickly and, without pretending to know all the answers? Because
Yeah.
obviously that's not the case.
So the good news is nobody knows all the answers, right? I've met very seasoned judges that when get presented with some sort of combination of cards or situations or mechanics that occur, they have to pause and really think through, like, how does this actually interact, right? And we had a really funny interaction happen at NAIC where I watched multiple lead judges have a hard time agreeing on the direction that this call should have gone. But we have resources in place. So we have the compendium, a great tool that we can utilize at any given time to look at how rulings have been made so we can all enforce them the same way, right? We also have a phenomenal Discord server for professors that once you're a professor, you can join the server. And they actually have a great emergency ping channel where you can go in there and say, help, this is what's going on. Somebody will see it and give you some feedback of, have you asked these questions? What happened with this? They'll ask questions for you to dig deeper, which is a great way for you to learn some of that. How do I investigate the situation better? Because these are questions I'm going to want to know, right? So a great resource, because you could be running a cup on your own, for example, a ruling comes up and you don't want to guess. In fact, you just shouldn't guess, right? Like don't make things up. Let's give a great experience. One way you can do that is say, you know what, give me a moment. I'm going to get some assistance on this one. Don't touch anything. Leave the board state where it is, and you step away, hop on that channel, do the ping, get the resources you need.
Great. Yeah, and I know, like, starting out, I'm going to work under you, do a couple events, and, get some good practice.
Yeah.
And then, I guess my last one is kind of, what advice would you give to someone who's going to their first regional, as a judge, and maybe not on the ruling side, but just, as they start taking everything in?
Sure, to prepare for an event.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you go to a regional event, here's the good news first. They are amazingly fun. Okay? You're going to be surrounded by human beings who are passionate about Pokemon, passionate about giving everybody around them a great event, no matter who they are, right? We're going to include all people around us of every walk of life and have a fun weekend, right? It's awesome. There's no better feeling than this. You walk in, you see this large amount of humans who you're going to be working with all weekend, and it's like the most positive, massive group of people you could ever run into. It's amazing. With that being said, it's exhausting. You're going to be on your feet. One day you might put in 12 plus hours running around on your feet, right? You're going to get your breaks in. You're going to get a chance to have lunch and everything, right? Like those things do occur, right? You get lunch and dinner plus a couple breaks. But it's a long day, right? I mean, you're running constantly. And depending on the role you have, it might be more demanding even mentally too, right? The other thing, you're going to talk a ton. And you might not be used to it. And it's going to be loud because you're in a convention center, so you have to talk louder than you normally would talk. So you can imagine what that's going to do to your voice, right?
Yep.
So one of the best tips I was ever given when I went to my first one was, Ryan, bring throat lozenges. And I said, okay, why do I need those? Whew. Glad I listened and bought them just in case, because, oh my gosh, by the end of the first day, I almost couldn't talk anymore. It was like crazy. I think the biggest tips I would give right away is just be prepared to do the movement, right? Have good shoes that you can wear, right? There's a dress code you got to wear, but like have some good shoes. Be ready to move, and just be ready to just put on that smile the entire time, right? So have the things you need. Oh, having I got like a bag that I can wear around my like chest. We got the regional shop, a water bottle in there, so I'm hydrated constantly, right? I get a moment, I'm filling that bad boy back up, putting it back in, I'm drinking constantly. And you get breaks, but I still like to bring protein bars and nuts so I can just pull those out quick and have a quick, quick snack, kind of keep myself fueled and moving forward.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely. Like how the bathroom break situation works, because if you're drinking all that water and you get in between rounds type thing, or you
I
go,
mean,
all right, I need a replacement here.
Yeah, I mean, somebody needs to go to the bathroom, right? Like, we're a huge team. So, I might be running, let's say I'm working a couple rows of tables, or that area, right? And usually there's going to be a judge to my right and a left. And we're going to cross pass a little bit. If I suddenly have to go to the bathroom, I'm not going to suffer for potentially 40 minutes before I can go, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to turn around to one of my partners and just say, hey, do you mind if I run to the bathroom quick? You cover my area. Yep. Go to the bathroom super quick, get back out. And I'm not going to dilly-daddle, right? Get in, get out, get back on the floor, and make sure we keep the event going smooth.
All right. So, with Worlds coming up, I know Ollie is competing, and then we do have one other local competing in Worlds as well. So,
Yep. Super exciting.
hoping maybe to get Ollie on, and we might talk with the other competitor and see if we can get him on here before Worlds, and then do a nice little video after as well, seeing what their experience was. So,
Yeah. It'll be Ollie's first time. It's his first year competing beyond one event. Had a great season. He's super excited. I think the part that I'm most proud of is watching the work ethic he puts in. So,
yeah, what was it the other day we were talking? He put in like 14 hours of training over the weekend or
yeah,
something.
yeah, and it's him, right? Like, I turn around, I get up in the morning, we get up, we do our normal routine on the weekend. We'll watch a little, like 30 minutes of like TV show movie, right? We've been doing the Marvel series, so we'll do like 30 minutes of that, and then we get up and have breakfast, right? He turns around, and he's already got the decks, and he's got the mats out, and he's getting it all ready to go, and he's getting a matchup set up that he wants to practice, and he just starts on it. And I played a bunch of games with him, and then I'm like, all right, I got to take a break for a bit, bud. He just goes and plays against himself, right? I mean, he just kept going, and yeah, the time he puts in to hone the craft is really impressive. So, life skill, that's for sure.
Yep. Yeah,
What's the difference between nationals and world?
Good question. So it used to be like they had like a national championship. Now they have what's called an international event instead. I think they also had states. This is before I started. So the regional events give you championship points per region, right? So there are multiple major regions in the world, and every region gets so many spots that get invited to the World Championship at the end of the season. It's kind of like your Super Bowl. It's like your World Cup, whatever you want to count it as, right? Probably
Okay.
closer comparison to the World Cup, right? You have to finish at so much of a placement to get qualified. And so what happens is after the season's over and you went to regionals or an international event, you accumulate championship points and then you get put on a ladder of rankings. So for juniors, for example, they looked at the top 85 players in North America, and if you finished in that number, you were sent an email with an invite to the World Championships. That's a very simplified version of it because technically it was more than 85 because they had champions don't pull from that, or people that got automatic bids. But to keep it simple, top 85 players in the region got an invite.
Okay.
Then it's like your final event of the year, right? Those that all earn their invite get to play in one major event together to see who wins that one, or have your best finish that you've ever had and make it a great time.
Awesome.
all right. And then what do you think Ollie's going to end up bringing for his deck for Worlds?
Oh God.
Has he got it narrowed down yet? Or is that something we have to ask
Oh,
him
jeez
right
Louise.
before?
Depends on the day of the week. No, he's loved. So he was a Guardy player almost all season. Loved Guardy. He likes to manipulate damage, and so he likes to play chess while he thinks other people are playing checkers. He's funny like that. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised if he sticks to Dragapult. I know that he's looking at other options, but he does like the ability to manipulate the damage and have control. So I wouldn't be surprised if he sticks to a Dragapult variant. And he's got a lot of reps on the deck. So to me, it comes down to, once again, what my advice is for anybody else. Buddy, whatever deck you play, what's the first priority?
Have fun.
Bingo. If he's not enjoying it, he's not going to be allowed to play it. And then, two, he has to put the reps in. If he turns around to me the week before the event and says, Dad, I really think we should play, I don't know, Deante Bomb. I'm going to say, oh, honey, you got like 6 games on the deck. It's not going to happen, right? So, yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that's about it for this round or this video, and then look forward to meeting Ollie on stream next time. So
Yeah.
Let's blow
that
his head
one
up
will be
really good.
interesting. Oh yes, he does.
Oh, shoot. Well, thanks for the conversation. Look forward to getting you involved more and see how you grow with this role.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to you probably next week at Pokemon.
You got it, my friend.